Hi, I'm Placer County Agricultural Commissioner Josh Huntsinger, and I'm out here on a beautiful day to talk about forestry. With me today is Mark Luster. He's with Sierra Pacific Industries, and he's going to talk to us today about all the practices and things they do to make sure we have a good supply of timber coming out of Placer County here locally.
Sierra Pacific Industries is a family-owned company. We've been around since 1949. Started out with a father and son over on the North Coast, and so today we've built into one of the largest timber manufacturing companies in the United States. So we're proud to work here in Placer County.
Would you tell us a little bit about just where a healthy forest starts?
Well, the process actually starts with a timber harvest plan. So about a year before we got harvesting timber, we put together an environmental document that basically is an environmental impact statement to harvest the land. Once we go in and do the harvesting, then we have to go back and replant. We operate on what's called a sustained yield basis. That just means that in any given decade, we don't take out more than we put back in. So we got here, we take a look at the land, and then we start determining how to put back on the landscape what was actually there historically. So if it's a ponderosa pine landscape, we'll put ponderosa pine back. If it is Doug fir, we'll put Doug fir back. If it's cedar, we'll put cedar back. So that's how we kind of take a look at the whole landscape. And so what we try to do is to plant in such a manner that we'll have the proper growth over the next decade or so. And in about 80 years, we'll be able to regenerate that forest again. So we really do look at it for the long term. So it's not a short-term process. Our landscape takes about 80 years to turn that over again. So what we plant today, the next generation will actually realize that.
Okay, Mark, so we're up here today probably 30 or 40 miles east of Auburn. So these trees obviously are harvested out of the woods. Where do they go from there?
So what we do here, after we harvest the timber, we take it to our sawmill in Lincoln, which is actually just west of Auburn. And so what we do is once it goes into a sawmill, we manufacture into a variety of products. It could be 2x4s, it could be 2x6s, it could be products that go into furniture, it could go into landscape, decorative barking. So what happens is a lot of cases when you're building a home in Lincoln, or you're building a home in Auburn, or you're building a home in Roseville, that timber and that lumber could actually come from a site such as this. And so a lot of it is homegrown, local grown, placer-grown material that we see here that's being processed.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting to know that a tree that was grown in Placer County could be processed in Placer County and then end up in a home in Roseville or Lincoln or Rockland or Auburn. That, you know, the wood in that home actually came from here in Placer County. That's a pretty neat thing. Would you talk a little bit about all the wood products that you can't make into something that you sell and what happens to those down at your mill?
Yeah, we use 100% of the fibers. So if it doesn't go into a 2x4 or 2x6 or something that's going to go into construction, we can actually take the bark, for example, can go into decorative barking. We can also take the bark and the sawdust and use that as a project to burn, and we turn that into energy. We have a cogeneration power plant. It's clean energy, carbon neutral, and we're able to produce about 18 megawatts out of our Lincoln plant, which is enough to power a city the size of Lincoln. So what we're able to do is use that power at our facility and put the residual on the grid and sell that to PG&E.
So Mark, you talked about a little bit about the timber harvest plan and environmental protection, sustainability. Tell me a little bit more about what that actually means.
So what the timber harvest plan means is that we manage for a variety of assets. So in the forest, we look at habitat, we look at wildlife, we look at water quality, we look at water quality production as well. So it's not just one thing that we take a look at, we look at the whole landscape to manage for the long term.
And I know fire, forest fire is a huge issue. How do your plans interact with, our concerns about forest fires?
Well, today we have a number of issues that we face. One is catastrophic wildfire, the other is the bark beetle infestation. So as we look at managing our land and our properties, we have to make sure that we address those issues. By going out and thinning ahead of the fires, going out and thinning ahead of the bark beetle infestations, we can reduce those impacts. And so it also helps us reduce the carbon footprint that we have as well.
So one thing I hear about a lot is, these single-age stands and clear cutting and all of these things that people are really concerned about. How do you manage the forest in such a way that it's sustainable and also is best for forest health?
When we take a look at our forest, the overall picture, when you come in, you take a look at our fresh harvest, that's not staggered in time. Over several years, that forest will start to grow and produce a lot of different habitats. It's going to produce water quality. It's going to produce all those different assets. So as we take a look at this forest here that's 20 or 30 years old, you can see how this stand has changed. You can see how the trees are coming in, they're healthy. And you take a look at a forest that's 40 years old, then you take a look at a forest that's 80 years old. So each one of those segments of forest are going to support different wildlife, different habitat, different quality of water, different water production. So we're managing just as nature would manage it naturally through fire. Fire is actually natural in the landscape except when it's catastrophic. So by our forest practices and by the long-term thinking process that we engage in, we're managing for the long term. So if you want to learn more about Sierra Pacific Industries, you can visit our website, spi-ind.com. We do a variety of tours to different public groups, so please come out and visit us.
Yeah, will do. Thank you so much, Mark. And if you'd like to learn more about our Placer County crop reports or anything else that the Agriculture Department does, please visit our website at placer.ca.gov. And if you'd like to learn more about how to connect with our local farmers, ranchers, and our timber producers, please visit placergrown.org.